Konami wants to make Silent Hill an annual franchise because nothing bad ever happens when you turn something into an annual franchise.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, where a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who rang in the new year at all the wrong places. Nick, how you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, right and wrong is really, that's like a value judgment that I don't think that other people are qualified to make about um, the places that I go or don't go. And you know, if I want to go to a Sailor Moon convention for the new year, that is, not that I did, and any photos that suggest that I did are AI, obviously. But if I did, that would still be, my choice. And yeah, that's just how I think about it. How are you, Joe?
Doing all right. Just still surprised of seeing that TikTok of you lighting off fireworks at the VFW, just right outside. It's just like I don't think those veterans necessarily want to hear the explosions, but those were some pretty good fireworks. I mean, Texas does them the way Texas does them, so good for you. Uh, yeah,
There were. I was out at a house party, and it was doubling as a New Year's party and a housewarming party for somebody that had just bought a house not too long ago, and we didn't have fireworks, but there were some people in the area that did have fireworks, so we got to enjoy some of theirs a little bit. But yeah, otherwise, it was pretty good New Year. I've had worse to be sure. The year that I had COVID during Christmas and New Year's was pretty rough, but pretty good overall. How was yours?
man. If we talked about what we were watching first, that would be a great segue into speaking about the reason why you got COVID. But well, we'll have to loop back to that later. All right, so let's get to what we've been playing, based off of our game of the year discussions and many different categories. You had gotten into Ball Pit, and I was part of my list of new games to play for the new year. Got I got me a handful of hours into it, and I can see it being a really addicting game. I think I played for like one session, uh, made it to the second biome or second stage, and I defeated. So for those who don't know, it's it's a Devolver published or Devolver developed game. I can't remember if it was. Anyways, Devolver Digital has their fingers in it, which means it's of a certain type, which is quirky and fun, generally speaking. It's a simple game where you play as it's like a breakout clone, something akin to a tate mode or like a top down shooter, like 1943 or something like that. And you have one of the best options you have in that game is instead of holding trigger to fire, you could just have it set to auto fire, and that makes it really nice.
Yeah, that was one of the first things because like the first mission I did that, I was like, man, my fingers kind of tired. And so it said you can set it to auto fire, and I was like, I'll just do that. And as it gets more complicated, like maybe there's some advantage to pulling the trigger every time, but I could never see one, so I just left on auto
So
fire.
yeah, the reason you might want to main not fire is depending on your skill set.
Mm.
So it's a roguelike game, uh, and you build your basic character or characters, and you can get like basic stats to go up, better stamina, and some other things. But then your equipment or your spells and things, those are reset every time you enter the game field. And just like a roguelite, you're not guaranteed to get the same type of loadout skills, and therefore it reminded me of Vampire Survivor, where you kind of need to have a list of all the things that synergize well together, or that will eventually evolve, and that way you can prioritize the kit. Because as I was playing, I ended up getting some really good groupings. Like there was like a wand that helps certain AOE the AOE area of like an earthquake spell or a lightning spell get bigger. And it happened that I happened to get the lightning and the earthquake, and so I leveled those up, and then I was able to fuse them into one attack, and that became just devastating. It was pretty great. So if you get a good run, you can really just wreak havoc, and it's pretty fun. There's not a lot to the game, at least in the early stages. There's a base building element where you can build new facilities and kind of plant and harvest crops. I kind of really don't like that system at all. It's a neat concept, but super annoying for me. Just absolutely annoying because you play your own little mini game where you send out your worker or slash field hand, and you kind of set up you can rearrange the plots and the facilities that you want to build. In order to build a facility, the characters have to bounce into it X amount of times. I'm just gonna say like 10 times for a certain facility, maybe five for another. And if they go through a wheat field, they'll automatically thresh the wheat. If you hit a forest, they'll bounce off the forest, but they'll collect the wood that way. And then they'll do the same thing for rocks. So depending on where, if you know how to bounce things, you can get it to work pretty well, but at the same time, it's just very annoying because maybe if you miss your bounce or something like that, or if you miscalculate, you may not have your facility barely touched, or you might, get one or two, rocks or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. And then that requires you to just kind of rinse and repeat much more just to build the new facilities you need. And I just found it to be more tedious than fun
I mean,
because you
it's
you only
just
send out your crew once per run.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is kind of irritating and like, what am I really supposed to do here? And from what I can tell, it's just a thing that doesn't really matter that much because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to miss, but it's just something for you to do at the end of your run, and eventually you're going to get it right. It is also, but like if you do want to build a building, you have to like, quickly and properly, you have to move it into a place that you can easily hit. And that part does get a little tedious because, like, okay, I wanted this building to get built, so I need to move it to a place that's going to be easily hit. So you have to like rearrange stuff, and it's not too hard to rearrange things. Maybe it's easier on PC or something, but it's not too hard to rearrange things on controller. And but it's still just like a thing that you have to like, okay, I want to do this. I just kind of thought of it like a thing that is you're you're gonna get through by just playing the game a lot eventually, and just to
Yeah,
like leave it at that.
it felt like an obstacle that was actively slowing the game down, and
Mhm.
that's what irritated me because some of these facilities unlock new characters or unlock permanent buffs for characters. And in order to build new facilities, you're going to need X amount of wheat or wood, and it's like you also need that in order to upgrade the facilities to make them better. At one point, I think I had three facilities, so then that's exactly what I did. I rearranged it to make a little enclosure and just let my guys loose, just so they can bounce around this little square tiles, just to build everything faster. And unfortunately, not everything was built, and so that was still irritating because I ended up wasting a turn, not collecting any other materials, just trying to get my facilities built, and I still couldn't get them all built, which meant that I had to wait yet another round. But then you're like, well, now I'm running low, or like if you unlock something else, you're like, well, now I'm running low on materials. Now I just got to do materials run for the most part. Um, I would rather just have just straight up say, hey, you're gonna have to replay this X amount of times to unlock it, and that's just be done with it because,
Yeah,
like I said, that game is not entertaining for me personally.
the village building part could have probably been expanded out a little bit, more gamified, a little bit more or something. It's not really supposed to be the main point, so they didn't really put too much on it, but it does need just a little bit of either easing up or making just more intricate somehow. But otherwise, I always found that the regular gameplay was pretty fun. It was never particularly difficult, really. I didn't feel like I had
Yeah,
much control over it, but I did enjoy it though.
see, I enjoy the game. Just that, like I said, the only thing is that village building is more of a tedious thing for me, and I can see why it was, like it's a fun surprise, and it's a simple game in which you can just kind of sink your teeth into and just like or mindlessly play on the side, but it is fun. We a friend of mine and I we were trying to play uh our multiplayer game of the week, but they had completed dispatch. I had let them take control of my system, play through dispatch, and so we had to decide on a new game to play. We went through and like, okay, I forget which game, but we had to wait for it to download. So as we're waiting it for to download, unfortunately, their internet is a bit slower than mine. So we're like, okay, well, I'm just as we were just chatting away, I went ahead and started playing a session, and I just let them, watch what I was doing, and they were entertained with just watching the way I was playing.
Mhm.
And it's like I said, it's it's satisfying. It does a lot of things right. The music was okay, but nothing at least to me at this point, there was nothing to really write home about, but it was overall the game had a good feel for it. The only thing that I found that was wanting in the actual gameplay department was like kind of towards the end of each boss. It's just like they have a certain thing you gotta do or like the way you have to hit them or cause them damage, and it's not you kinda understand this is what you have to do, but it's just tedious. It's just also a little tedious because 'cause I'm like, "Alright," when one of the bosses, you have to bounce off the walls and then come down on top of them, like the
Mhm.
back of their head, and I'm like, "Okay, so I'm generally getting the vibe of where I'm supposed to be going," but also you're just dodging it's the bullet hell in this case, and you're just dodging and weaving in between a bunch of fire while I'm just like, I'm not really paying attention to where I'm shooting. I just know I gotta kinda get it in the right thumbstick area. I'm like, "Okay, if I angle here, in theory, it's going to go," but I'm trying to just run across the bottom of the screen. So, eventually, I won. It wasn't hard to win, but it just did take a little bit longer, and I didn't feel like I had a lot of control. It's just like RNG almost, like, uh, spray and pray, as it were,
Mm,
so
yeah.
but no, the game is I do generally like the game. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna continue playing with it. It's a great, like filler. Like, hey, if this was on your phone, this would be super deadly because it's like I can see just like, hey,
Yeah.
I got a little break at work, or I got a little downtime. Just gonna play a quick run and be done with it.
Yeah, I don't know how much you'd have to make it easier or harder or whatever to be able to play on your phone really effectively, but if they can figure that out, then yeah, it would be a really deadly phone game. Especially if you have like a controller or something like that. Like this is actually like a really. I've actually been thinking about the Steam Deck quite a bit recently because I've actually been playing some more games and stuff on Steam that are pretty simplified, and I'm like, man, this would be great on Steam Deck if it's it doesn't take that much to run, and if you have your whole library, that would actually be pretty cool to have. Um, if we're about to move on, I wanted to mention one thing real quick.
Go ahead.
So I'm not ready to talk about it yet. I probably could, but there's so much else to talk about here today, and need to finish it up. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. But I have been playing a game called Look Outside, which was a pretty big hit on Steam last year. That I had heard a bunch of people talking about, but I wasn't sure if it was like a meme game or really what it really was. Also from Devolver Digital, but I'm I've played for about like 17 hours, and I have and on it, and I'm pretty close. I think I'm pretty close to the end, but I need to try to finish it up. But anyway, so I have been playing that. Don't want to say too much about it yet, but I will next week. I'm gonna even if I don't finish, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it next week.
Okay. So, real quick, the developer for Ball Pit is Kenny Sun.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
Devolver published it, and I know you're thinking about the Steam Deck, but just letting you know of a little thing called Nintendo Switch 2. It's also available on there.
What is that?
So, no, yeah, when you have to find reasons to buy it, there you go. You can add one more reason. Uh, the as far as look outside, that's Francis Colombe. So this game I for some reason I thought this game came out like earlier last year. I
So
feel like
there
because
was like it was like I think the first release was in March. It's on like a version 2.0 now. I think that it was out
okay.
as an early access game, which is an immediate turnoff for me, which is probably why I probably heard about it early because I remember people talking about it, but I think it might have been a different game because it certainly looked different. But from what I this thing I'm remembering, but people have been talking about it, and so I think that it probably went like 1.0 and then 2.0 in the year.
Okay, yeah, because I've had this thing more or less spoiled for me, like, not really knowing much about the game, and the algorithm dropped it for me. So I was just like, "Alright, like, this seems weird," and it's also, like, 2 in the morning, so I'm doom scrolling on YouTube here, and I'm like, "Yeah, for sure, feed this to me. What is this weird thing?" No idea anything about this indie game, and then I was like, "Wow, this is really kind of unique and messed up," and I'm like, "Yeah, alright, that's cool." And but I honestly had no idea when it released either, so I thought it was an older game, like, knowing that it was relatively new, but didn't think it was, like, that year new. I thought it was maybe a couple years old or something like that, just something that flew under the radar, but when the moment you mentioned this, I'm like, "Oh, darn, okay." Uh, and there is a lot to the game that apparently, uh, lets you kinda play different ways or do your own thing, so I'm very curious about maybe getting my hands on it and trying to play as well because, uh, it looks the look of it is disturbing and kind of all the right ways or wrong ways depending on how you look at it, but it's like, it does its job effectively is the
That,
best I can say.
there's a game that I could compare it to a game that I've never played that from what I understand, it's sort of similar, but I don't want to like taint it for you. um, so I'm not going to say that.
Was
After
it
we
the Earthbound reference?
what
Was it the Earthbound reference? I've
uh
heard it mentioned to Earth, so
I don't know too much about Earthbound. From what I do know about Earthbound, yeah, I mean, but that's not the one that
okay.
would possibly turn you away. But yeah, it's
Enough
a
teasing. We'll have your impressions next week.
yeah, that's fair enough.
Alright, and alright, then I guess that's really been it, between the holiday stuff and, just not a whole lot we've been playing, but we'll have more next week. And now what we've been watching. Um, I don't really have a lot that was really noted, but one thing that I did wanna talk about was, I finally got around to finishing Bullet Train. It was a weird one for me because I saw the first, I don't know, half hour, um, like 6 months ago. It was I forget why or how I came across it, but I watched it and I'm like, "Yeah, this is like I found this pretty entertaining." And then for some reason, I think we just had to stop watching because, we got interrupted, and it's like, "Okay." And I've been meaning to get back to this. I think I checked it out from, like, the library, like, twice, and I just never got around to
Oh,
being able to watch it. And then a friend was hanging out for New Year's. We ended up I don't remember something we said kinda came up, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, there's a really good kill count sequence early in, like, within the first 15 minutes." It's a really, tightly, executed, bit, and I found it to be pretty funny, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna play it from the beginning and let them see that bit, and if we're up for it, we'll just continue watching because at this point, it was already pretty late. Uh, and then we ended up just watching the full thing, which was good. Now this movie, for those who don't know, it stars Brad Pitt, and a handful of other, people that you would recognize, but maybe not know their names of. I'm trying to remember who the director was. The director who did this, is the same person who did Fall Guys, which makes a lot of sense because, um, later on, alright, essentially what it is Brad Pitt is on he's a mercenary or a man for hire. He is mostly snatch and grabs, as he calls it, but he's on a train with a bunch of assassins. He is filling in for somebody else. That is important to note. So this wasn't originally his job, but he's filling in for someone else, and his so he's talking to a handler, and he's kind of going through a new age phase where he's trying to find his own zen moment and stuff like that. So he's playing an odd duck character. He doesn't like to play. He doesn't like to use guns and some other stuff. And one of the first other team of assassins you meet, uh, they go by code name Lemon and Tangerine, and that they're the ones with the funny bit about uh, the job they just did and how many people died in the process or got killed in the process. And it's very well executed. It took me maybe half an hour, about like 45 minutes in this to realize uh, the person playing Tangerine. And I'm like looking, I'm like, you're kick ass, aren't you? And I'm like, and then no one believed me, like, "No way." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's throwing on a really thick, like, accent, and it throws you off." I'm like, "That's totally kick-ass." And I'm like and I look it up, I'm like, sure enough, but I realized it was him because of Fall Guys. He plays the jerk actor who, Ryan Gosling, uh, like, he's, he was the stuntman for. And and I didn't recognize it was Kick-Ass at that time too because he's grown up and he's gotten jacked. I was just like, okay, he's a lot more fit at least than he was before, and so it was really strange to see. But the movie overall is entertaining. It follows the rule of cool where you don't take it serious, just a straight action movie, a lot of stupid, fun bits, and it's all like scenes, but none of it
Mhm.
makes coherent sense in the realm of the real world. Um, because like entire cars of this bullet train will just be empty. Like there's an open bar. There's literally a bar of liquor and stuff like that, and they're having a full-on fight scene in the middle of it, and it makes no sense why there wouldn't be a person manning the bar.
Yeah.
But it's just like you just let it go. They kind of do a one-liner, kind of explaining a little bit because you can kind of see as things progress. Um, there's a great cameo in it that's stupid but funny. Thought I was gonna lead to something else later, but it didn't. And there's just, yeah, once again, this movie is a straight up, like, C. It's just like,
Okay.
yeah, it's if you're in for it reminds me of, like, shoot 'em up, where if you know what you're getting into with shoot 'em up, that, as being a dumb action movie, you're like, "Okay, this is entertaining. I'm down for this." If you came in thinking it was gonna be a real, like, a serious film, then you'll be severely disappointed. Uh, and so the the only part that I had a problem with, my spouse and I were like, we're watching it, and we're like, "That's Fuji in the background." They're going from Tokyo to, Kyoto, and we're like, "They should have been past Fuji by now." And, like, I'm like, "No," but, seriously, like, we're looking in the background, and you can see just slowly going in the background, you can see Fuji going, and then shortly after that, they're like, one person Brad Pitt's talking to someone, and they're like, "Yeah, I was just trying to get off at Nagoya." And they're like, "That was ages ago, because 'cause they're, like, 3 stops away from Kyoto or something. I'm like, "Nah, dog, that's not right." You know? You have Tokyo over here, then you have Fuji really close, Nagoya is, like, way over here, and then all the way is, like, a little further up is Kyoto, like, they were well beyond eye line of Fuji, like, that made 0 sense in my brain, but
Like
you know what?
Nagoya is
Fuji
south, south and west. Kyoto is north and west of Tokyo.
Well, I mean, Shinkansen does go that way, but it's just funny. It's just like, yeah, okay, I get it. It's just, the average person's not going to think about that because, you're in Japan. You either want a torii gate in the background or you want
Yeah,
a Mount Fuji.
that's
Nothing screams more Japanese than that, or a giant like Moneki Neko, somewhere.
it's
That's
it's weird. Yeah, I guess they just have to do what they have to do to get the thing in the thing. Um,
style over substance. I'm like, you know what? That's really dumb, but
to me,
whatever. No one's gonna question it.
if you're going to break reality, I don't think you want to draw attention to it. I think you just want to kind of let it be ambiguous. Like, we're on a train going over here. We're not really going to say exactly where from. And oh, here's, you want to let the fog of war kind of handle some things for you, but whatever.
Yeah. Once again, it was entertaining. I had a
Good.
good time with it. And if you ever want just a sit down action filled like popcorn film, this fills that niche, and it's funny and it has its funny moments, and it's meant, and it's just like, all right, we're good. But once again, it was just like I can see why it didn't like break the bank, or like a lot of people weren't like swooning over it, but at the same time, it's the right kind of stupid.
Okay.
So I was all right with that.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. I almost watched it like about 3 or 4 times, but I was just like, yeah, I don't know. And then I think I'd heard like it was like basically like what you said, like not bad, not great, and so I was just like, well, and then the moment kind of passed, so I just went on. But I'm glad you liked it. Maybe one day I'll get drunk enough and bored enough and I'll watch it.
Like I said, just watch it. Watch just enough to get that kill count scene in,
Uh huh.
and then you could be done with it. That kill count scene is pretty well executed. It's like really good editing,
Yeah.
and like like just the direction of that. I'm like, okay, I still enjoy that scene, so I'm all right with that. But yeah, all right. Now you have, on the other hand, have watched quite a bit of things. So yeah, here we go. Let's sit down, grab your drink, and let's go.
Yeah, get your popcorn. Watched a lot of live action stuff. If you can call one of these things live action. And yeah, it's been a time. So first up, been watching this show called Pluribus on Apple TV. Um, I'll run through kind of a plot summary first. So basically, the point of this show is that it's set in modern day, and humans get a signal from outer space, and it's some kind of code. Well, it's a code for basically a protein or a virus. So they make the virus, and then the virus gets out and it infects one people, two people, four people, eight people, on and on exponentially. And it infects everybody in the whole world. So this virus is not really just a virus, it is another life form. And it takes over the brain of whoever it's in and controls that person, and it links everybody who has the virus on earth together except for a certain small number of people. And I don't mean like small, like 1% of the population, because that would be like still in the thousands or millions. But of the 8 billion people on Earth, only like, I think they said 12 or 13 are unaffected by the virus. So that's where the main character comes in. And I don't want to tell too much about like who she is and stuff.
Is your name Carol by chance?
Her name is Carol, yes.
Just I say that because I happened to pull it up, and scrolling across my screen underneath uh the Google, like, all images, news, videos, it's like, what are you searching for, Carol? Question mark. And I've never seen it scroll that just across the screen, so I was like, wow, that's kind of trippy. That's kind of fun. I like
So,
that
so
it's,
yes,
even the web browsers with you.
that
So okay.
that is funny. That's what's funny that they decided to go with that on there. Yeah, it's so it's got a lot of so basically, you have an entire planet of human beings who are now taken over by this alien life form, and only like a few people that are free or independent or whatever. So that's basically the setting. That's like all more or less in the first episode. So beyond that, I don't want to talk too much beyond that about specifics because I don't want to get into spoilers and stuff. So I'll talk about a few more little things here. So this is a show that's created by, not written by, at least not every episode, created by Vince Gilligan, who, if you may or may not remember, wrote on the X Files for a long time, and he wrote and directed or whatever, created Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So, so I of course really liked Breaking Bad. I never watched Better Call Saul, but my mom was a really big fan of both those shows and the X Files to some degree too, and me too on that one as well. But when she found out about this show, she was like, "Hey, this show, Vince Gilligan, blah blah," and I was like, "Okay." this might be pretty good, you know, and it's on Apple. So it's like, okay, they're at least going to try to make it look good. And there's not too much on Apple. So it might get a little bit of a nice treatment, you know? And so we went into the show with pretty high hopes, pretty high expectations. I got to be honest, especially because the premise is actually was pretty good. It's pretty interesting. Um, and I think it's 9 episodes for this first season, which just ended. And there are about 5 of them that are pretty dang good. I would say pretty all right, at least 5 episodes that are pretty all right. And there is probably 1 episode that's just okay, 1 episode that's pretty bad, um, and 2 episodes that are utter dog shit, utter freaking dog shit. So right in the middle of the season, they slow everything down to a crawl for 2 full episodes, really for 2.5, maybe 3, but I'm pretty generous about that 3rd episode. And if the show hadn't already been renewed, I would have bet my life on it that it was going to get canceled, because I think it's like episodes probably like 5 and 6 or 4 and 5, somewhere in there, where like me and my mom were talking about it, and I'm just like, we were both gung ho on the show, and we were both just like, what are they doing? They're ruining the show. This is awful. It just, without you watching it, you can't really understand. It's just a matter of like them doing a bunch of stuff and then purposefully slowing the show down to nothing happening, just nothing happening. It's pretty amazing that they were actually able to fill 48 minutes of TV time with literally so little happening. So that almost I was like, look, Mom, I'm in it at least for this season, but but if they don't fix this, then I don't know. And she's like, yeah, I don't know either. So get through that, get to about episode 7 or 8, somewhere in there, and it starts to pick up the pace again, and it just had the season just ended with the season finale, and the finale is pretty good. It's at least an okay episode. But yeah, so I've heard people talking about Pluribus. I've heard people saying they like it and stuff. And I haven't been digging around because I don't want spoilers for it. So I don't know what people are saying really like on like YouTube and stuff, but I don't hear a lot about this show. People talking about the show, but what I do hear, people like it and stuff. And I'm just like, I think that those 2 episodes in the middle are completely unforgivable. Like, I know you want to make it to 9 episodes. You could have made it 8, a clean 8 episodes, and nobody would have batted an eye, and had a lot more interesting. Just jam those 2 episodes of boredom into one that's like probably like a 6 out of 10 instead of like a 3 out of 10, you know? So anyway, but I have other things I could say about the show. I think that Carol, the main character, is really unlikable. I think that's partially intentional, but I got to like episode 3 or 4, and I was like, I think this lady is really unlikable. And I think that's what they were going for to some degree, but they don't really give her a lot of redeeming qualities. She's just the person you're following. Whereas in other shows with unlikable characters, every once in a while, like if like the main character is unlikable, for example, the one I keep using is Michael Scott on The Office. Complete idiot that you hate almost all the time. But every season, once or twice a season, the paper company's in peril or whatever, and he comes out and shows you why he's the boss, because in all of his quirky weirdness, he can kind of save the day when like the chips are down. So and, whether you agree with that on The Office or not is neither here nor there. The point is that they don't really do that with her very much. There's only a couple scenes, and they're kind of weak, I thought, where they show you like, okay, she's the reason why like you're following this show. We're showing you why she's the hero or whatever. So they need to do that a bit more. And there's some more stuff I could go into, but I kind of want to quit talking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, I heard about this when it first came out, and there was some buzz around it. I didn't get a lot spoiled for me, but I heard it was like it had a the unique concept, and I'm like, all right, and it's like this sounds interesting, and I'm like Apple TV, and then I'm like, oh, instantly checked out. I was like, yep, nope. I'll wait for, and it is exactly what I thought. Like I'll wait for your synopsis on this,
so,
because you get your Apple's TV's money's worth. So if there's ever something that's interesting, I just listen to you, and
I mean,
then
like, like there's some good stuff in the show, but I've never really seen a show that I thought was good enough to watch, but like actually pay attention to, but through recaps on YouTube. Like I think if somebody did a really good recap where they just kind of cut about half of the show out, and then basically those whole like two of the like those whole two episodes, I think that you could get a really good season recap in, what is it, like let's just say basically 9 hours for the whole season. You could probably do a supercut recap of the show in probably 4, maybe 3.5 hours, and be like, okay, that was pretty dang good. That was pretty awesome. And just save yourself like a boatload of time. And I've never seen a show where I thought that it was both good enough to experience, but not good enough to watch the whole thing because of how much fluff and filler there is in there. But yeah, I mean, it's like it wasn't until it started to get really boring in those episodes where I was like, wait, this is just created by Vince Gilligan. It's not written by him. So yeah.
so here's my pitch. Another dead Patreon, and you get to do synopsis of different things that are both worth your time and not worth other people's times. So we can start with this, and then we can roll towards Star Wars. You know, and I just want to see you go ahead. We'll get you a booth set up. A little sound room. You know,
I don't want to have to experience the show again. I mean, like, but then at the end of the ninth episode season finale, I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a try whenever it comes back next season in what, 2 years or however long it takes to make a show now. That's another thing that, oh, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that alone. But anyway, so um, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. If you have Apple TV, then I would say go ahead and give it a try. But there's a
this seems to be critically acclaimed, by critics, but then the users seem to like have your mentality of it's like it is middling because it seems like it's confusing. Like the highs are highs, the lows are lows. Um,
it's a pretty unique concept. It's not totally unique. It's a little bit Invasion of the Body Snatchers. To be completely fair. And there's some other things that it kind of calls on, but the way that it's done is a little bit unique. It does feel like bait for critics to me. Like critics tend to see things, they're tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again. So when a critic gets a hold of something that is at least a little bit different, even for difference sake, it does tend to, pull the gun out of their mouth just a little bit. They put that down and they don't really feel quite so horrible about their choices in their lives. But it definitely, it's just too little butter spread over too much bread. I think, and I don't really understand why they went for 9 episodes. That just seems like somebody was dead at the wheel on that one. But then again, like I'm gonna give it a try whenever it comes back. So,
All right. Well, speaking of masterpieces, what else have you watched?
so I went over Christmas, and I went and saw Avatar, Fire, and Ash, um, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I'll say that if you don't care for the Avatar series, this is going to do nothing to change your mind. It's the same movie again. Um, that's three in a row, pretty much of pretty much the exact same movie. Um, and there's a lot of it. 3 hours and 18 minutes. There's not too many scenes that I think you could get rid of wholesale. At least not too many that were immediately apparent to me. If I went through scene by scene, I could probably go, okay, yeah, you get rid of that, you get rid of that. You could probably cut this movie down to probably 2.5 hours if you really, really tried. There's only one scene that's about 5 minutes long where even as it was happening, I was like, and especially as soon as it ended, I was like, yeah, we didn't need that. You could have cut that. You totally, easily could have cut that wholesale, just whoop, and nobody would have noticed and nobody would have cared. Um, and I just thought about it and I was like, well, why didn't they? Why did they stretch this movie out? And I was like, oh, it's because James Cameron is looking at that scene and he's like, well, it's 3 hours and 12 minutes without the scene, and it's 3 hours and 18 minutes with the scene. Fuck it, we're keeping it in there. I don't give a shit anymore. We're just going all in. This is my movie. This is my last movie that I'm gonna make in the Avatar series, and I'm just gonna have it all in there. And you can just tell that he's just like pulling out all the stops and doesn't really care about like conventional movie making and stuff like that. I was really surprised that this movie did not have an intermission. Um, that was an unusual.
It's that bad that it needs one. Okay.
Well, it I thought that I heard years ago, and I guess this was wrong, but I thought I heard years ago that you were required to have an intermission if a movie was over 3.5 hours. Like there was some, or sorry, 3 hours. That like if it was literally 3 hours or more, that you had to have an intermission because people had to be able to get up and stretch their legs in order to avoid like blood clots or something like that. I don't know. I guess that was just hooey because they don't have that anymore. Then again, a lot of movie theaters like have seats that recline, so and you can stretch your legs out. So I guess that's not really, even if it was a problem before, it's not a problem now. Um,
I'll say we are well accustomed to sitting at our desks in one position for hours on end, compared to back in the day.
yeah, I guess that's just some myth that I heard that I just carried with me. But 3 hours and 18 minutes is a
I'm sorry. It's in my brain. The movies that did the intermission, you got things like Gone with the Wind or Lawrence of Arabia, but those were meant to be epics, and they were long as heck, especially for back then. But it also doubled as theater, as it were, like
mm,
play production, and so those would have the classy things would have intermissions in those, so it equated to that experience, because the obviously going to a movie theater is not that highfalutin as it was perceived back in the day, and that's kind of was always my mentality. It's like, yeah, it's well, if it's like 3 hours long, it gets an intermission, but also because those old movies were meant to be of a certain style. And that's why we talked about it with Kingdom of Heaven. The director's cut has an intermission, but I don't know if that ever got theater released. And I guarantee if you do anything like The Watchmen, extended or something like that, that would have an intermission guaranteed. But or the Lord of the Rings, those would need the extended cuts would need those.
yeah.
Uh, but when it comes to something like this, uh, they want you to pump out as many showings as possible to recoup the ginormous cost invested into it.
So I think that um, so if you go see this movie, there is it's pretty easy to tell when you can get up and go to the bathroom or do something. Especially because it's the same movie again. So it's not, I mean, and I don't think anyone's really like, I don't think that's really surprising. I think James Cameron would even probably say, yeah, it's pretty much the same movie again. So you can get up. So it's like, all right, I've seen this movie two times already. I know where this is going. And I know that. So basically, they have a big set piece, right? They have action, they have shooting and killing, and that ends. Okay, now you can get up and go to the bathroom, and you're pretty much not gonna miss anything. Um, but yeah, so all that being said, um, I think that this is the last hurrah, and I think that for for Avatar as a movie, James Cameron and the cast have kind of hinted at that already. James Cameron basically said that there's not very many story threads left. I think he said there's only two story threads left that he wants to tie up, and that he'll probably just write a book.
The thing I heard was if it doesn't perform like if it essentially doesn't make enough money, he's only going to tie up the one loose thread um in a book or in a writing. And I'm like, if you need two more movies to fill up one loose thread, um then there's something wrong with your writing. And I think that this is kind of funny because compared to uh was it Pluribus, what you just talked about, how that one's critically acclaimed, publicly like mid. It's complete 180 where it's like it is very much critically mid, but the fans who go to it know what they're getting because they just want to. This is that the equivalent of like Michael Bay action film. Like this is this bombastic spectacle that warrants a theater experience. Like if
Mhm.
you're going to watch it, you're going to want to watch it in a theater, because that is the only way you can truly appreciate what this is, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the reason why why they were saying that, like Sigourney Weaver said, go see it twice. It's like there's no way this movie is going to. I think that the studio came to James Cameron and said, "Look, if this movie doesn't do numbers that would literally blow everybody away for a third installment of a movie that we've already seen twice, you're not getting to make another one." I think somebody sat him down and said, "This is the end of the road for Avatar. So make it a good one." And that's why he's saying, "Well, I've got two story threads, and if I don't get another movie, then I'll just write a book or whatever." You don't say that if you think you have any shot or idea of getting another movie. I'm I would be very surprised if this series got another movie, and I think that it doesn't need one. I think that we're done. I think that it's plenty over enough. Um, so so with that being said, um, you know, it is um, the characters. I do feel like for all of its length, it is a movie that feels like it can breathe. There's so much. There's so many movies where they're like 90 minutes or 2 hours, and they're just, they're very much um, just go go go, and you think you're being entertained and stuff like that, and it's like it is entertaining, but by the end you're just like, yeah, but like, why did that happen, and what was going on there, and like, oh, that was kind of rushed. And because it's so long, there's so many ebbs and flows, that there's a lot more like ability to have like good quiet time and good action, and then like kind of just the like the in between stuff between like rising actions and things that can make it feel a lot more like a TV show, just because it's so long, honestly. So I think that part of it was actually kind of good. It's something that you don't really get to see very much. The characters, as flat as they are, with that much time, especially over this many movies, even characters that are pretty flat, you can get a lot of you can get a lot more like humanity out of them. Not that there's really that much to get in this movie, but you do feel like you've had a journey with them, and so that's kind of nice. And then like the best thing about this movie and these movies is just I can't think of another franchise in film or TV that has a world that is this well realized, where everything sort of fits together, and they don't have to beat you over the head with it and explain it, up and down and go, well, this fits together like this, and this thing is like this. Like you can just kind of show you, and you don't have to like you're like, okay, I get it. Like there's these sea creatures and they fit together like this, and this thing works like this way, and then there's these flying creatures and stuff like that. So I don't remember if you said this before, but I feel like James Cameron is the Kojima of movies. He's just
I
he's
don't think I said that one, but I did say he's up his own ass though. So if
so
you're relating
yes.
to me saying he was up his own ass, then yes, they're very much the same. It's so you're like, oh, it has room to breathe, and that's a good thing. When you have built-in potty breaks into your movie, you've done fucked up. Okay, that's kind of how messed up that is. You're like, it has plenty of time to do. I'm like, you are not selling me on this at all. I mean, I don't need back-to-back action. I like a good western. And I like a slow build up. That's great when it's intentional. When it's But if it's the same bit and story as a whole, not saying obviously it's different enough because this time there's fire instead of water. But when you have another reasoning for the earthlings to cause trouble, because in the original is mineral mining, no idea what the second one is, and this third one's supposed to be conquering. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
I know
mineral
what you're doing. You're
mining,
not
and then
building
it's
this
still
world.
mineral mining, but through animals, and then it's still mineral mining through animals, but also just sort of conquering. Yeah, and then the last one, um, yeah, like I did, like there's a new bad lady in this one, and I thought she was pretty good. She was pretty fun, but the whole like the James Cameron Kojima thing, like the thing about James Cameron is that he doesn't try in these movies at least to fool you with the story or make some kind of weird thing happen, whereas like Kojima just completely destroyed everything that he built in the story for Death Stranding. At least this one is like what you think is going to happen, and that is as like cookie cutter as that is. At least you kind of come away from it going like, well, I kind of got what I paid for. Like I knew that's what was going to be. But the technical aspects is where I really draw comparisons between them, because like technically, like the CG for this movie, I don't think any CG ages really well, but I think that the CG for this movie and these movies is going to age the best out of from this time period, or at least age the last the longest before you go ugh, you know. Um, and I think that he's kind of pioneered that. I still see a lot of bad CG, um, even like in like the Stranger Things finale, which we'll talk about in a minute. I think the CG for that was like fine, but it will look really bad in a couple years. So anyway, just it's um it's it's good that it's over. It's good that it's over. I enjoyed it. I had fun. Um, it's a good popcorn movie. It's not going to be something that's going to change your mind, but yeah. Anyway, so that's
Yeah,
Avatar: Fire and
I
Ash.
don't know, man. Yeah, I think it's a waste of time. I haven't seen it, but I think the fact that it's Oh man, you could sell me on a lot of other stuff, but this I just no way you're
Not
wrapping your around this.
not
Did you
everything
see
is
this?
for you. Not everything is for you, Joe. And this is not for
Yeah,
you.
I know, and I think this is ass. But no, did you watch it in 2D or 3D?
I watched it in 2D.
Okay. I mean, I know it's like I
It's
have
it's
respect for
not
what.
2009 anymore.
Well, the thing is, it still comes out in 3D,
I
and
know.
like that's the thing. As much as the first one was just mediocre of a story, and I would have it would have been forgiven had the rest of it gotten better. The world actually completed, and this is a thing that caused nerds to learn like Navi. They were people really went in hard on that first one. Um, I think the real sin was just to wait forever between the first and second film.
That really
And
seemed to have killed it. Yeah.
I think if they had made a sooner film, like in a realistic time frame within like 3 to 5 years, that would have been uh, close enough, and they would have probably been like they would have made a more distinctly different story. Uh, they could have made it better. The I respected the technical aspect. I always have, and that's why I always said like the first Avatar film was like I said, most definitely meant to be in theaters. It completely changed the industry for better or for worse. Or for a little time, it shook the whole industry, made people want to buy 3D TVs, made all the other movies afterwards want to do 3D. That bubble burst, but at the same time, they did make it viable to do 3D without being a gimmick.
Hmm.
It was an added effect, which and like opposed to I don't know, Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that, where they're like, "Oh no, this rock or this fish is flying dead at your face." You have moments like that, but as a whole, it was just meant to be a better experience. And I was like, "Yeah, all right." I, everyone can get a pass for a mediocre film from a legendary creator, but when you're making the same thing and multiple times, and then you're just like reskinning it and then selling it, like selling the same piece of crap again. I find that to be an extreme letdown. It's like Kojima might be up his own ass, but at least you know he thinks he's trying to do something different. That's
Yeah, and
and that's the thing.
it is odd because like James Cameron, directed Terminator 1 and 2, and Aliens and True Lies, and there's some weird stuff in there, but there's weird stuff in there, and it's a little bit same but different. But as movies go, they're pretty different. I think you just get old at some point, and it's like he wasn't, he did Titanic as well, he by the time Avatar 1 comes out, he's not really a spring chicken anymore. Everyone in Hollywood hates him or hated him at that time, and that is what I think is the reason why there wasn't an Avatar 2 that came out within 3 to 5 years. I think he was just like, I'm not getting this movie. Like I think Hollywood was like, you're not getting this movie made, dude. We don't like you. We don't want this. I mean, Hollywood hates these movies, and I get it. Like it's like it is pretty boilerplate. Very you know just simple to them, and so I get why they don't like it, but it does seem like that is what killed it is you know I think 3 movies was probably always the right amount, or really the max amount that you could get out of this. um when he said there was going to be like he had scripts for like what 7 or 9, did he like say like 9 films? I mean, we all just were like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, they're gonna go here and they're gonna do this, or go here and do this, and it's like, bro, I mean, I guess, but I think that I think 3 and ending where it is fine.
You gotta go with the 4th, man. That's all I was saying is, you've done air, you've done water, you've done fire. Now you gotta go subterranean. Gotta do earth. Get the elements down. Uh, it's James Cameron. The probably reality of it too is he wants to get the story done because he doesn't want to die midway through, leave an unfinished thing. So he's gonna write it out, being like, boom, I'm done. You got my story. Uh, that's probably like a big part of it too. Because once again, like you mentioned, he's no spring chicken. And by the time he's done with, because 4 and 5 were the ones that were like still like legit pinned.
Mhm.
Like we don't have a title for this, but they are 4 and 5. Before that, that was supposed to be
Well,
like
I
what
when about
2029, 2031 were the current time frames.
yeah, those are not getting made. Back whenever he sort of first mentioned that, I guess in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, so we're going to leave like humans behind because all three movies have been, cowboys and Indians, fighting the white man or whatever, just fighting humans. And it was to me, it was like, okay, there's only so much runway before you just run out of that. So I thought it was going to be like, we're going to do a couple movies of that and then go to where, like, okay, humans have left Pandora and they're just gone. And now it's like the problems of the natives or whatever, of the Navi and stuff like that. Um, and I think there's not too much runway with that in my mind, but I figured there'd be enough to like get it to where he wanted it to go. But I think this is fine. If we don't need any more, there's not there's not really any outcry for this. It's one thing that people always point to, um, is that it's like the biggest franchise to have like zero branching things. Like there's like no cosplay. There's just no like care for it outside of the
Well,
movies themselves.
the first movie had support.
Yeah.
You know, but then after by the time second one cared, no one cared anymore.
I mean,
It was
but
dead
Joe,
on
it was
arrival.
only it was only 11 years later, Joe. What do you mean? People can't wait
Yeah,
11 years?
people forgot all the Navi that they learned after the first movie. It was completely gone. No one cared about learning the language again afterwards. The I mean, granted, it it's like it made almost as much as the that last episode 9 Star Wars film.
Mm.
I mean, it's like it's already hit like $1 billion uh for about the same budget. Like I think it was like this one's estimated at like 350 to 400 million, something like
Really?
that.
Okay.
To make. So it's recouped its cost at least. Even if you do the double for the marketing, at least
The
it's
fake
they're in the
accounting.
black.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fake accounting. Well, fake accounting is always going to find a way. But that's the thing is, I once again I think that it should just be stopped. But then again, I it's one of those things that technology. It's pushing the technology. Great.
it's
And is anyone else
it's
going to
not
use it?
though.
No. No one's
That
going to use it.
that is what's strange to me is like it's like if I was James Cameron, I'd be like, look, I'm gonna license out this technology. I'm gonna become a production studio. We're gonna make other people's stuff because it does look really good. Like he has really good VFX artists and stuff like that are making stuff. And yeah, it's like, okay, these are whales and these are otters that just look like alien things, but but like there's still plenty of other stuff that's like, okay, that at least is well detailed and stuff. So you would think he would go that way, but yeah, I don't know.
What you do is you end up then having um, you go through, make this make the next installment done by M Night
M Night
Shyamalan,
Shyamalan.
and then what you do is then you roll it into the sequel for the Borderlands movie because that's on Pandora as well. There you go.
Yeah, just roll it all into one.
Just rotate the planet, rotate the planet 50, like to the opposite hemisphere, and you're like, there you go. That's where Borderlands takes place. The entire time, you didn't realize, or it's like post invasion, things kind of fell apart a little bit. We ended up burning, scorching Earth, and then we unlocked the gates to, Cthulhu, essentially. So yeah, there we go.
Dang
Once
old
again,
Cthulhu every time.
I'm glad that you enjoyed the film.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's
Not enough to see it twice, though. Not enough to see it twice. You saw the last one twice
yeah.
and loved
There's still time.
All
Um.
right,
All right.
move on.
So yeah. Sorry, I'm just running the gamut on this one on this podcast here today. So it's time to talk about one more Stranger Things season finale, series finale. Um,
Okay, spoilers done. Okay, cool. No one cares.
yeah,
Okay.
100%. I gotta just say, yeah, this is. I was thinking about pushing this to talk about next week, but I think I just want to just go ahead and talk about it now. Um, I don't know, but I mean, I was thinking about pushing it to next week just so could give people a little more time to watch it. But oh well. So this is your spoiler warning because there will be spoilers for Stranger Things series finale. Um, so this is kind of a tale of two opinions, I guess. When I watched it last night, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I didn't get to watch the second drop, at Christmas because I was with family and they were not caught up on it or anything like that. And I was just like, don't really want to have people talking during it or asking questions anyway. So got busy and ended up not being able to watch it like really right away. But I did get it all watched and watched the very last 2 hour episode last night. And as I watched it, I really liked it. Um, even from the beginning of this season, um, I thought that it kind of picked up pretty much where it left off, and that they did a good job with kind of giving people stuff to do, and having the revisiting things and the mystery and all that stuff. Um, and But even like as I watched the final battle, there were some things that didn't really go the way that I kind of expected them to. And I was kind of like, that's a little bit odd. So the first thing is that nobody important dies. There's one like red shirt character that they kill off, and I was like, okay, so now the blood is going to start to flow. Now we're going to just really start to get some kills in here, and
You know
that
Samwise dying? Okay.
so
Uh,
so yeah so they kill off this character, and then I was expecting like because that's what everyone was saying is like who's gonna die because there's gonna be a lot of deaths, um, and they really don't. They don't kill off any of the major characters, even any of the major characters that came along later. You know, so if you haven't watched this show, I'm just gonna spoil the whole show for you. So basically, they introduce a new character every year, or a couple new characters every season, and then they kill at least one of them off. And it's somebody that they introduce, and then you start to care about, and then they kill them. But they don't really ever kill off anybody that's like a core, beginner of the show. Um, so, so we thought everybody thought they were going to zag on that, and they just really don't. So by the time the final battle's over, I'm like, what, what? Yeah, okay, I guess. And the other thing about the final battle is that, and everyone's been saying this, is that it was really easy. Like the characters don't really have to put up with, they're not really tested. They kind of run for a little bit and they stand and fight, but there's not, and they're in danger, but they're, to bring up Lord of the Rings again, the closer they are, the closer they are to danger, the further they are from harm. Was kind of what was going on here, and they were around this, you know, beast that was trying to kill them, but nobody got hit. Like nobody got swiped by one of the tentacles or stabbed or like stabbed through the shoulder, and it's like, oh, are they dead? Oh no, it's actually just a flesh wound, And then they kill the final boss pretty easily, um, and then they have a really long, uh, um, part after the climax, a really long denouement, um, and they and it's like okay, so I'm watching it, I'm like okay, and I'm sort of just kind of feeling the mood, feeling the show out, and it ends. I'm like, dang, okay, that was pretty fun, and then it's sort of dawns on me, sort of the ending sort of settles on me, And then I start watching like YouTube and stuff like that, different people talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, I think the haters are kind of right on this one. So they mentioned a lot of the stuff that I've already said and a whole bunch more. And after the thing happens, after the final battle, and some more little final stuff happens, they skip to 18 months ahead, and the military is just gone. So the military has been in this town, and they've been trying to stop the kids and all this stuff, and they're just gone. They don't explain why they left or why these people are not getting disappeared by the CIA. Um, so that there's that, and there's a lot of other big little plot holes throughout with like the powers and the this and the that. And so it's pretty much consensus online that is pretty much a bungled end. It's I think that they got the characters. I think that they did the character stuff pretty well. Like I like the characters, and the moments that they had are pretty good, and the characters, like the dialogue and stuff, is good. Like the characters feeling like people that you want to hang out with, or that you want to know, or that you care about, is all done pretty well. But a lot of the X's and O's of like, well, this happens, and so that means this has to happen, and if that happens, that means this can happen. So why doesn't that little shortcut to like fix everything happen? There's a lot of things like that people are pointing out, and there's questions that are being put to the Duffer Brothers. Um, and they don't have very good answers. They're answering, and the answers are not very good. There's a little bit of like, well, it would be boring to show that, so we didn't show that, and I get that, but there's a lot of stuff where it's like, yeah, you could have explained it, you could have said this, you could have said that, and you really didn't. And yeah, so I think you mentioned before the podcast that people were throwing around comparisons to Game of Thrones. Um,
Yeah, that's all I know about it because after the new year or whatever, like we're or something like that. It's like friend was looking at social media and like, oh yeah, apparently it dropped and apparently people are hating it. And it's like, all right. Like how bad is it? Is it like, How I Met Your Mother, the entire last season just ruins everything? They're like, no, more like Game of Thrones, it seems. And I'm like, oh, okay. So just like, but once again, it's to I'm like, well, at least I didn't waste the last couple of seasons, pining after it because I bailed at season 3 or whatever. So I was like, all right, um, because that would have irritated the crap out of me. I mean, I hate putting investing time in a series for them to fumble the end and then need to retcon it with a spin-off or trying to, if you have to write a paragraph on social media about how to fix it and how it should be, doing the J.K. Rowling thing of changing your mind after the fact or something like. I'm like, no, you done messed up. You know?
I think that is getting at what might be part of the problem here. There, there is some thinking. So there's a little bit of news that I'll delve into right now. There's a petition for a Snyder cut of the Stranger Things season series finale. And obviously Snyder's not involved with this, but the way that he was like, "Hey, I have my own cut of this movie that's a lot better," and he was right. Like his cut of the Justice League or whatever it was, yeah, it was Justice League, was a lot better than the original. And so people are asking for that, and basically the Duffer Brothers are like, "No, this is it. This is what we made." But there's other kind of scuttlebutt about. So apparently there was a play about the bad guy, about the backstory of the bad guy, and I saw a trailer for it. I didn't know this existed, and this YouTube lady was saying that nobody really knows that this exists, but that they seem to be trying to tie stuff into that. There's like stuff that's weirdly put into the final season and final episode that ties back to the play about the bad guy. And it doesn't, you don't have to see it, but it's like they're trying to do some kind of like prequel thing. And anyway, she was like, that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to set this up so that they could do prequel stuff and make more stuff out of it, make more stuff out of the franchise and stuff like that. That, and I have already, there's like an animated series that's coming out. It doesn't look too bad, but there's an animated like show that's coming out about interstitial sort of Stranger Things type stuff. And there's, I'm sure there's a lot of toys and stuff like that, but it seems like, it seems to me like the Duffer Brothers might have been told, hey, we need to keep making money off of this. So you need to write it in such a way that we can make money off of this. Don't kill a bunch of characters. Don't do a bunch of stuff that's going to be really like, that's going to finalize it, because we can print money for the next 2 decades off of this. And yeah, so I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they were like, you know what? Like in 5 years, they're like, you know what? We have a season 6 of Stranger Things, and they'll just like run it back with like, because there's hints at like the younger kids, because the kids in this show from the original show are now basically, they're graduating high school, and the real people are like full on adults, but they're like graduating high school, going into college, so they're basically adults, and they have like siblings who are younger, who are the age that they were whenever they started all this. And so they're hinting at that they're going to be sort of following in the footsteps. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it as I watched it, but yeah, after kind of letting the cold light of day hit it a bit more, it is like, dang it, this is not, it's not bungled, or it's not really done particularly well. It was kind of bungled. I'll say that the way that it's not like the way that it's not like Game of Thrones is that as you're watching the final season of Game of Thrones, especially those final 2 episodes, like you can feel them twisting the knife. Those last 2 episodes are just like, they've already sunk it in. They've gone up and down, left and right, and they're just like twisting it back and forth. With Stranger Things, at least, a lot of people didn't like where it was going through this season, but I feel like there was definitely hope and reason to believe, this or that. And I didn't hate. Like, there's a lot of things I did like about the end, but but you have to get away from it. I think you have to get through it before, at least I had to get through it before I was really like, okay, yeah, there's definitely some problems here. But yeah, so just it's been a rough time for live action. I gotta admit.
Yeah, so what I've seen is it's supposed to be the stage play thing is Stranger Things, The First Shadow.
Mm,
Uh and it's yeah, prequel stage play for Netflix. Supposed to be uh telling the original story of Henry Creel. I don't know who that is.
yeah, he's the
In
bad guy.
1959. Okay. Yeah, so 1959 Hawkins supposed to feature young version of Hopper, Joyce, and Bobby Newby. So I'm like, I don't know who that is, or at least I don't remember. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. It's like, okay, I think you said it best a long time ago, where if you have to make a prequel, then the
So it's I think it's Stephen King, because I always steal that from him. I think the quote is um, there's a lot that happens in prequels, and almost none of it is interesting. And that is the way that I think about it. Not that I've ever written a book or been confronted with a literal multi-million-dollar check to write a prequel. So if and when that happens, I'll let you know how it turns out, or I guess you'll be able to know if I ever write a prequel that I got paid big. Um, but yeah, like it just seems like, I don't know, that like there's a lot of people who are suspicious that money kind of got in the way of this, because there's a lot of things that feel rushed. There's just a lot of things that even with every episode being really long and the final episode being 2 hours, that's two full episodes long. People just it just seems like it was rushed somehow. So yeah,
So you have one series that has a middling middle, and then you have another movie that might as well be a series that is just nothing beyond expectations, and then the last thing just ends with a sour taste in your mouth. So all right, you've had yourself a pretty unappetizing time here. So but
yeah.
you liked it. At the time, you liked most of it, or at least you walked away liking it, and then you
Well,
had to I'm
that
hoping you turn on Avatar too. I hope
like
you realize you made
like Avatar, I like, but I understand that it's not something that most people like. I've got to do the good job as a critic and go. I like it, but unless you like this, this, and this, then you're gonna think it sucks. You know, and critically, like I don't like I'm not forgiving for like whenever there's something that I actively don't really care for that much and it makes the same story over and over again, I'm critical of that. So I have to be critical of Avatar when it makes the same story over and over again, but it just happens to be like something that for whatever reason here or there, I'm like I just like it more. But yeah, I think Stranger Things probably peaked at season three. I think season three was probably overall the best because it's before it gets like serious, but not but it's still a little bit like, oh, those pesky kids. There's like military involved, but they're not really like actively being targeted by the military. So it's not quite as wild and unbelievable. There's a bit more of a purity to it, and um, yeah, there's some other stuff that I could say, but I don't want to. I don't want to get mean. So yeah, there we go.
all right, well, you know what you can tell us? What you picked for the news. So go for it, man.
Ah, yeah, okay, there we go. News. So you brought this to my attention. GOG, Good Old Games, is no longer owned by CD Projekt Red. It's now owned by a co-founder of CD Projekt Red, um, who helped launch GOG. And I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, but I'll try anyway. Michael Kaczynski, I think, or maybe Mikhail Kaczynski or Kaczynski. Google that and you'll figure it out. So yeah, so that has switched, but it seems like it's a little bit of a kind of rearranging the deck chairs here. It seems like it's probably CD Projekt Red didn't want to kind of deal with that as a company, and this guy was like, yeah, I'll go back to, I'll kind of take the head on this, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it reminds me of when a musician buys the rights to their music from the from the studio. So I'm like, all right, I kind of like the idea of one of the co-founders getting it back. They got paid twice, so good for them, you know.
yeah, for real. I mean, it seems like it's probably just like we don't really want to handle this anymore. This is your baby, you handle it, and yeah, that's probably what's going on there. But if something evil comes out of it, then we'll know where it started. Next up, Netflix reportedly wants to keep movies in theaters for only 17 days once the Warner Brothers deal is done. I also read in this article, this is from IGN, that I think it's AMC theaters, some theater corporation or representative is saying that they need to hold the line at 45 days in the theater. So that's like a month and a half of a movie being in theaters. 17 days. I don't know. Like, I don't know which is more correct. if it's Netflix trying to force theaters to die or Netflix being like, look, this is the future, streaming is the future. And there's just no point in keeping they're like it's like look guys, the numbers are here and here. You put a movie out in theaters 17 days, basically 2 weeks and change, and then you pull it and you start making money off of it on the next phase of renting and all that stuff. um, so yeah, I don't know if they're just being an evil corporation or if they're actually correct.
I think 17 days just isn't right, because it's one of those things that, yeah, it is pushing for theaters to die quicker. Uh, with that, you would have, in that concept or that scope, something like Avatar, like, wouldn't stand a chance because no one would like, very few people would go flock out to see it in theater. I mean, it's the only way. I've said it before. Like, I don't like the series, but it's the only way you should see it if you want to see it is in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the premium way because it is on a bombastic scale and scope in which it deserves all the like IMAX glory. So films of that nature that are meant to be a spectacle, they need that time in theaters and they need the time to breathe. I understand the 45-day concept. Realistically, movies are only in there for 30 days, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're rotated out. Uh, but you still want that extra breathing room because 30 days, you're like, oh yeah, I just have to wait a month, just a month, and it'll be if it gets to your streaming service. So like 45 days is just long enough to be like, I've heard a buzz about it. I wasn't on day one, but like, you know what? But by the end of the month, you're like, okay, I guess I'll go try to see it. I can see people like that. Uh, I I will miss the theaters, but once again, I've been priced out of the theaters very long time ago,
Yeah, dude.
considering the fact that I can't bring my children in, and the theaters themselves, in order to maintain funds, they have to sell their concessions for an absorbent amount. Though you made it comfier, you still made it more expensive to really enjoy it, and I can't watch a movie without pausing it at this point in game. So I'm like, I need that watch from home experience.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I didn't really notice it so much this time. I thought the theater I went to had a really good bright screen, but I have been to several theaters around here in Austin where I'm like squinting at the screen because it's just dark. And I know that it's just because I have a really nice bright TV at home, but like it's a factor. It's like when my home experience can literally compete and exceed the theater experience, it is really tough to go out and spend a bunch of money on it. Tickets aren't so expensive, but you're going to want some popcorn, you're going to want a drink, you're going to want some candy, and just those three things, that's minimum $30, you know? And it's just like, so if you get a matinee, you're talking about $45 minimum to go see a movie. And it's just like and it's like now you're taking a chance. Is it going to be good? If it's not $45 good, there's a lot of video games. There's a lot of anime. There's a lot of a bunch of other stuff that you could do that is a lot cheaper or free. So yeah, it's just a tough experience to get around these days. And yeah, I don't know. I just well, I think Netflix is probably right in some ways, but I just know that they want to kill theaters so they can make movies that are cheaper and easier and worse looking to make so that they don't have to spend as much money on them. And I just know that that's where they're coming from, is like, if we just kill those theaters, then we can make our movies even uglier and nobody will be able to do anything about it. But yeah.
We've been conditioned as a society to accept mediocrity, and that now that is our new current status quo. So it's the inevitable. We're being conditioned for higher prices and lower quality, uh, and unfortunately, until there's no champion of justice going to come out and fix this on our behalf. Uh, yeah, and the thing is, we're willingly going into that.
Yeah.
You know,
Joe, hold that thought. I'd like to tell our audience about our new Patreon. There'll be only
uh,
the lowest tier is only $60. Highest tier is 600, but I promise it's worth it. Um,
You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna get the website up and running to have high quality streaming services and you know
no, it's just going to
the
have a
update.
tip button. It's just going to be a credit card information. It's not going to have anything else. Just the lowest effort possible. Yeah.
So if it tips, I expect you to have strobe lights in the background that flash every time.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we'll get after we get the first $1,000 of Patreon money. All right, I'll keep going here. So yeah, physical copies of Star Wars Racer Revenge are being bought because an in-game exploit allows you to jailbreak the PS5. So these uh, these Star Wars Racer Revenge games are being bought. Physical copies are being bought secondhand online for like exorbitant amounts of money, like $300, um, because word got out that you can jailbreak the PS5 um, in using some sort of exploit in it, which I think is really strange and weird. And I'm pretty sure that Sony is going to jump right on this and patch that exploit, straight the heck out of there. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't go spending a bunch of money on this to try to jailbreak your PS5 because I bet it's going to become obsolete very soon. But I just thought it was funny.
Well, you just don't patch your PS5. That's all. I mean, you get the game, you don't patch your PS5, you jailbreak it, and then you're good to go.
So my question is, are you sure that you're going to be able to get the game ordered and in to your place and set up before they patch it out? I guess you could just roll it back to an older firmware.
No, it's actually harder to roll it back to the older firmware. You just don't have your system auto update.
Okay, so
Never have your system auto update
just hold the
because if your
update.
system there's been a number of times where auto updates have caused other issues. So you're always better just waiting, check the update beforehand, or at least wait until the internet. If the internet's screaming about a bad update, then you're like, oh, maybe I'll just hold off just a little bit. Yeah, just never go with the auto update.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess you just hold the update and then order the Star Wars Racer Revenge and then run your jailbreak. Yeah, I don't
these
even.
things have been for a long time. Like these kind of exploits, that's how early like PSP and it's like other a lot of handheld stuff. I think that's these kind of things were with Xbox One. Just it's always fun to find having a game that can just kind of circumvent the system
Mm,
and watch those games become like the holy grails of that console for all the dumb reasons. Uh,
yeah, it's been a while since I feel like it's been a while since this has happened. At least on the new generations, it doesn't seem to have been really a thing. Um, but
yeah, I haven't actually looked into much of the jailbreaking scene on the PS5, so I actually don't know. But
I don't even know what you
as
can do with the jailbroken PS5. I mean, probably get modded games and free games on there. I guess that's part of the point to just save money on
uh,
games.
pretty much anything in their catalog that you can play currently, you'd be able to do. Get the emulators to run for the PS3 for those games. The all the stuff that they offer on their streaming service, you'd be able to have at your fingertips. Chances are a bunch of other consoles too. I mean, that was it was actually quite easy to mod the Xbox, and then you can have the original Xbox, and then you'd have like as you load up, it'll tell you the weather, and you could have it on like the ISS at the time.
Mm.
So you're like, yeah, just a blank channel, and I'm just gonna show images of the ISS, and then when I want to, I'll convert to my actual game. You upgrade the hard drive, and you have this giant music library, and there was a lot of fun and wild stuff back in the day. But even the way I look at it is, you know, it's kind of nice knowing that you can still people are still willing to do the wild west on things, but it's also kind of more important in a lot of ways where you don't own anything anymore. Well, if I'm going to keep this thing permanently offline, I don't need to do online stuff with it. Hey, guess what? You do own your stuff now because it's like you especially if you already bought a copy, that concept of like I bought a copy, so I should be able to own my quote unquote pirated version because I've already paid my dues.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think if you're in that scene, it's wise to go ahead and buy multiple PS5s or just whatever system there is. Just buy like three and just never open them until you absolutely have to. But yeah, like if you know how to jailbreak and stuff, yeah, you can kind of have that stuff. You can actually own that stuff once again, like it's 1985. Um, okay. Next up, speaking of modding, somebody created a mod uh, to put Breath of the Wild in VR, and I think it's called. I think the company or the group of people is called Better VR. I think that's the name of it. But yeah, so they did the whole game apparently, put it in VR, and I guess I don't know what all is involved with that, but it sounds like they said it was like a 5 year project, and looks pretty cool. Good on them for doing that. I don't even know how you'd go about playing this, but it's there if you really love VR and you really love Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that you thought that Nintendo would do this earlier themselves because they with the Switch originally, they came out with that Labo kit, the
Mm.
cardboard kit that you can mess around with some goofy stuff with uh VR or 3D or something like that. And then they did uh was it they are coming out with the Virtual Boy mod
Oh yeah,
uh thing. So I'm like, well, come on, guys. Like you could theoretically do some fun stuff with it, but Nintendo would have to be thinking about the players. Um, and they don't.
they don't
So
want
all
to do
right.
that.
No, but
Okay.
that's fun. It's fun that someone can play Breath of the Wild in VR. That's a neat concept.
Yes, super fun. All right, next up, Konami wants to make Silent Hill an annual franchise because nothing bad ever happens when you turn something into an annual franchise.
Yeah, you said it.
Exactly. So, yeah, they wanted they have mentioned that they want to do that. I think it's nice to see Konami actually making games again. I mean, this time, last decade, uh, they were like people were wondering if they were ever going to make games again or if they were just going to quit making games entirely. So it seems like they have gone completely about face, completely off the deep end the other way, where they're like, no, we're just going to make all kinds of games all the time, and it's like, okay, Konami, just chill. But apparently, this for the success of Silent Hill 2 remake, Silent Hill F, that they are looking at doing that. I don't think it's a wise idea. Maybe biannual, like once every other year, would be somewhat more reasonable. But really, they should. I mean, really, just do what everybody else does and just make a new game when you have a new game to make, and let it take as long as it's going to take, and let it sell really well. That's tried and true.
Silent Hill's Silent Hill's a very spotty franchise to begin with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, they had the remake of 2 is great, but now I guess if they're gonna be like, "We're gonna do the remake treatment to all of the stuff that we've gone through now," Lord knows some of that stuff is rough junk. So, yeah, and if you're gonna be churning that out, at a, annual rate, then, like, y if you have enough people or another studio to, like, alternate between the studios, giving them, like, 2 years' time, then maybe you can fix some of it, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna just take some of those turds and just polish them up and be like, "Here you go," and, it's then
I
you're like,
mean,
"Why are we wasting money? No one's buying these things, like, because it sucks."
if they do what they should do, which is full fledged remakes of the games, then you gotta think what like Silent Hill 1 is the next thing you do. But Silent Hill 3 has its fans. I mean, it has a pretty loyal fan base. And I think in the years since it's come out, it's gotten to be a lot like stronger in terms of people who are like, yeah, this game had a really great vibe and actually had a pretty good story and all that stuff. And even Silent Hill 4 has its fans and says that there's like good meat there. You just have to, it's just like was poorly executed. So you've got enough for at least three more games, probably, before the wheels really start to fall off. But three more games, and who knows? Maybe they would actually have a brand new idea and make something else. But regardless, the way to do it is one at a time and just let each game stand on its own and test the fan base after each one. And if you try to do Silent Hill 1 remake and it flops, you know, throw your hands up and go do something else. You know, trying to force an annual franchise out of a horror series is just seems like crazy talk to me.
They can do the Call of Duty thing, and they'll be like every other year it'll be a number sequel, and then after the alternate years will be a letter. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they could alternate Silent Hill with Metal Gear every other year. That'd be fun, right?
Man, having them bring back Metal Gear would be wild. Yeah, that
Personally, personally, if I was running Konami, I would bring back Metal Gear and run it into the ground just so that Kojima could like have to watch his baby like die. Just like completely destroy it and just be like, this is what you get, Kojima. This is what happens. You know, just full Terminator
or
3 style.
or what you do is you just change you change the characters completely. Take the exact same characters, but reskin them to something completely different, and just be like, no, this is our game now. Now it's instead of it's like tactical espionage action. It's going to be a dating sim. There you go. Visual novel dating sim.
but a
Very
really
little.
but like a really good one that actually wins game of the year.
Oh man. All right. Well, yes. Once again, Nick's Patreon. Fan
Don't put
fiction.
this on me. This is our Patreon.
Mocap, voiceovers. It's all you. You're a one man show. I'm just here to watch.
I'm the director and you're the star, Joe. You're going to be dressed out in mocap, little light bulbs on your face and ass. Just completely hook line and sinker.
We've
That's
already. I guess I would be the male pro tag, but we've already talked about how
no, you're
you've
not the male protagonist.
for Stellar Blade. We've pinned you for what else? We've pinned you for 2B. We talked about you being 2B as well.
Don't you bring her
So
into this.
your OG waifu. But yes, okay. Well, Konami, don't do it. Just don't do it. Make a game when you need to make a game, and don't just you know burn your bridges. Fan base, the fans are. You finally got fans back for Silent Hill. People have been so upset by Silent Hill. You finally got your fans back.
All
All right.
right. Last thing is a little bit of a sour note. Vince Zampella Zampella he passed away in a car accident. He was the former head of Infinity Ward and was the current head of Respawn Entertainment. So a very big figure in the gaming industry, and it's just really sad to see him go. And yes, we just thought we'd mention that here that he had passed away over the Christmas holiday.
Yeah, it's truly unfortunate. I mean, it wasn't. It's someone who was essentially changed the gaming landscape or helped to do so. A Call of Duty franchise. You had Titanfall. Respawn helped with, they're the ones who did Apex Legends. So games that forever left their mark. And unfortunately, you know, he left at a very pretty young age, 55. So yeah, it's to all the family and friends that were affected. Thoughts and wishes out to them. And it's it is really sad. Hopefully, they can make it through these times. But it's being so close to the holidays, it is always a rough thing to always have to remember. So, all right, the impossible pivot, but you know, this has been ADP. We if you made it to the end, we really do appreciate it. Thank you for catching up with us on this, the first podcast of the new year. And Nick, why don't you tell everyone what your New Year's resolution was?
To play even more video games.
Yeah, I was asked earlier, and I'm like, well, mine was just to do better than last year. I didn't say do better than what, just to do better. So I think we can all use that.
I do have some New Year's resolutions, kind of, and they do pertain to the podcast. I don't want to say what they are because I don't want to be held to them at the end of the year.
Mine is to push Nick to do the Patreon, and and that's it. All right, guys. Well, once again, if thank you, and until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.